From Titans Return, I bring you Soundwave. Yes, the Decepticon Communicator. But this time, he's a Headmaster. He's very cool, but that's not all we have, because we have his crew. We have the spy tablets of Buzzsaw, Laserbeak, Ravage, and you can call him Rumble, but I call him Frenzy. But wait, there's more, because we have the Bumblebee set, the cassette pack Greatest Hits, which has Howlback. Now, some people call him Frenzy, I call him Rumble. And Buzzsaw. Again, we have a Bumblebee here, but we don't need to review him. He's kind of simple. So I am going to go through the Combiner Wars version of Soundwave, because who doesn't like Soundwave? And his less popular spy tablets that become his minions and have a triple changing feature, which is kind of cool in my opinion, and I think makes these underrated. So if you're new to the channel, I'm Captain Kyle, welcome aboard, and yes, sometimes I review some very old toys. If you're a long-time watcher, you already know that, and thanks for coming back. That's awesome, and I hope you enjoy this dive into one of Soundwave's versions and a good size Minion group. Soundwave and his amazing friends. Soundwave and company? Soundwave and crew? I don't know, but we're gonna have fun. Be right back. So we will start with the boss man, who is, of course, the Decepticon Communicator, and he does look pretty good in this form. Now, he is actually a repaint retool of Blaster, and he doesn't really change into a tape player or a microcassette player. He changes into a cross between a soundbar and a boombox. Plus he has a base mode, so all these guys are triple changers, which is kind of cool, but the base mode is kind of, well, you'll see. But he is very cool in robot mode. He does have this ejecting tape area, which can hold a spy tablet. It also holds a sled. Now, this is not his sled, because I don't know where it is. I either misplaced it, or I didn't get it, because I don't even remember if I got him secondhand, or... So I borrowed Blaster's, because Blaster has the same one, so you just have to forgive. I hope you can forgive me. It'll be fine. Same exact mold, just this doesn't have the stripe on it. So his chest does open, and you can put the spy tablets inside. Only one of them, but they can eject, do whatever they need to do. So that's a nice throwback. And he does have the cannon, which Blaster does not have, on his shoulder, the iconic sonic cannon or whatever the hell it is. I don't think that I recall if it's like a concussion blaster or if that's what he's holding in his hand. The gun is basically a blue version of the Blaster gun, but still it works. It would have been nice if they had actually taken the opportunity to make another one of these with a post that would go into his hand and with some kind of, you know, projection missile, but they didn't do that. At least we got the shoulder cannon. So I'm gonna take this out of his hand because he is a Decepticon and I don't wanna get shot. But he's kind of a bulky version of Soundwave, but it's kind of reminiscent very much of the G1, because he was kind of bulky in G1, at least the cartoon. Toy, not as bulky, but, you know, substantial. Now, he does have the classic red bands on his arms. He's got red bands on his shoulder cannon. So he's really a good representation, a good nod to the G1. Now, if you flip back his helmet, his head comes off and becomes a Titan Master, or Headmaster if you're old-fashioned like me and you want to just call it a Headmaster. His Headmaster is called Sound Blaster. Now, if you are familiar with Transformers lore, and you probably are, you know that Sound Blaster is the form that Soundwave took in the Headmaster's Japanese cartoon after he was basically blown to bits and then rebuilt into a black version who could hold two cassettes, at least toy-wise, and he was just renamed Sound Blaster. So it's a nod to that, I guess. You know, later on Sound Blaster in Siege was actually like a clone gone wrong who was kind of nasty and had his own operation, totally separate character, but you know, at least they're nodding to Japanese stuff. But yeah, very cool looking, substantial looking bot. Now you also have potential weapon storage on the back, if you so choose. If he doesn't want to carry his gun, you can just stick it in his back. Really convenient for him to grab. All right, let's go through some posability on this very cool version of Soundwave. First of all, and I'm pretty sure that just about every Soundwave can do this, full toes up Jean-Claude Van Damme. Not a problem. And you can even balance him because he's got very blocky legs, so he can sit there and he can do this all day. It's a Captain America thing. So that is very nice. So I'm not sure if these should be folded in. These shouldn't. Those are his toes. Because these heel type things kind of look kind of flimsy. So I'm not sure why you would flip them out. They don't really provide that much additional stability. But he does have ankle swivels. In fact, very generous ankle swivels. You can pretty much almost do a full split and put his feet flat. So that's kind of nice and generous of them. He can kick forward. Now, he's got these plates here, which have flipped up, but that allows him to kick forward better. Not quite all the way. Now, I'm suspecting this might have been secondhand, so because of the looseness of the toes, I didn't mess with him that much, so I have a feeling this was a secondhand. Kicking back is hampered by this part of his torso, so you can't really kick back all that much. But he's not Insecticon, so who cares? He can do a nice side kick and really go up if he wants to. Now, twisting at the waist is not happening. Unfortunately, there is no joint for that to occur, so you can kind of turn his legs out a bit and give it an impression that he's kind of twisting at the waist, but he doesn't actually twist at the waist. Oh, he does swivel all the way around on the legs. He's got this joint here. This is one of those joints that if you really want to, you can probably take off the legs. I wouldn't do it, just because they're a pain in the ass to put back on. And it might loosen them up, and you don't want that. So, good lower body, no twisting at the waist. Arms can go all the way around. Nice little ratcheting sound. They can go off to the side. He can bend at the elbow, and he does have a swivel all the way around, so that is another nice thing. His fists do not twist, but you can push them in a little bit, which I don't think is really good, unless you want him to push them in and pretend he's turned them into speakers and he's blasting sound waves at Blaster. Why not? Now, what's cool about the Titan Masters is, unlike the original Headmasters, you can actually turn these. Now, with this in the way, you can't turn his head all the way around. If you want to turn it all the way around, you kind of have to move that out of the way. But otherwise, he can kind of turn side to side. I do kind of like dropping that. No, I don't. I do kind of like having the cannon there because, again, very reminiscent of original G1. So I'm willing for him to just look. I mean, this kind of blocks his vision anyway, so he'd better be using some other sensors in order to sense what's happening over here. Though you could turn it a little bit and he could get a better view. And as I showed before, press of the button, his chest opens up and you can have stuff and things in there. Oh, I don't think I showed the knee. There's his knee. So he can kind of knee. He doesn't have any real extension there. His lower legs are kind of hidden by his little control skirt here. Control skirt, how's that? But yes, he does bend at the knee. So I didn't want to miss that up. Now, size-wise, it's about 9 inches tall. So not a bad size. But again, these toes are starting to irritate the fuck out of me. And just for some scaling, there he is next to a G1 Soundwave. So you can see the difference in size. Definitely his head and shoulders and biceps above the original height-wise. But you know, this is a set player, not a kind of hybrid soundbar. Now, he does have 2 forms besides his robot mode. One form is the actual sound bar slash boomish box. I mean, he's got this handle here, which is not reminiscent normally of Soundwave. That came over from Blaster. But I don't think that's a horrible thing if he's going to be a soundbar. You know, I would carry a soundbar around by that. So let's take a look at his soundbar mode. So there he is in his soundbar player mode. Give him a little spin. You can see him from all angles. Now there is weapon storage that you can take this cannon and plug it in there. And just like in robot mode, you can plug that there. So he's got storage in the back. As far as his Titan Master, take him and put him inside this little sled insert thingy and close it up so he's stored, but you know, he's not exactly doing too much to observe the situation, so you could have him just walking around outside, maybe dancing. You know, Sound Blaster could dance to Soundwave's music. So if you slide this back, he looks a little more like the original Soundwave, but the handle up, that's how you carry him around when you're walking down the beach and you want to put it on your shoulder just like you lived in the 80s, that type of thing. Now, eagle-eyed viewers on the close-up cam here are probably seeing these feet here. This is Honor. Honor has decided she wants to lay on the table while I'm doing this, and she might occasionally make a noise. So it's not bad looking, definitely an homage. I'm good with this mode. I'm good with the robot mode. Then there is the base mode. I almost feel like the base modes when they do these are like, oh, let's just try to give them some added value without actually doing anything good. So this is the base mode. You have to get your own tail to go into it, but Really? Is that a fact? And it looks like you can probably put some Titan Masters back here in the guns if you want. They don't sit that well, but you could balance them. He could be sitting here, just, chilling. He could be down here, hanging out. But it's not a bad base mode. But I mean, are these repair bays? I don't know what they are. It just looks like a platform with some guns on it. The guns are okay, but I don't know. I've seen worse bases, I've seen better. So that is Soundwave in all his glory. But wait, he has Minion. So he has a number of different minions, and the one I'm going to start out with is Buzzsaw. Because what's interesting about Buzzsaw, well, aside from the fact that Buzzsaw was the cassette that came with the original Soundwave, but he actually came out before any of them because he was released during the Combiner Wars line. He was the only one to be bought in there. And he's a little spy tablet. He's got a Decepticon symbol on it. I mean, you could tap it and it does shit, but it's not actually supposed to be functional. The cassettes weren't functional either. So he transforms into a couple different things. One, he changes into vulture, buzzard, whatever the heck he's supposed to be. It's not the most complex of transformations, but he is reminiscent of the original Buzzsaw. Now, he does have an alternative mode to this, where he becomes a forklift with actual wheels. Now, you might be like, that's kind of a stupid, cheesy, lazy alt mode, and I can see where you would say that. Definitely agree that they could have done something a little more complex, but when you think about it, think of all the energon cubes that they could load using this forklift. Now the wheels actually move, so the roll test, it's not too bad. Now, how often am I gonna put him in this mode? Probably never again. But I do see a use for this particular mode for this toy and why he might come in handy when you're loading energon cubes onto a space cruiser or whatever. Now, all these spy tablets are like 2 3/4 inches long and obviously a bit bigger than the G1 transformers that they're based on. So Buzzsaw, but wait, there's more. Because we have Ravage. So Ravage, again, a little tablet. Nothing too much you can do with him in this form. He's got nice stickers on him, but that's about it. And you can see a little bit of, the whole Ghibli thing. So there he is, Ravage in his panther mode, cat mode. I know something about cats. He actually has some articulation because his legs can move a bit and you can point the feet. And he's actually got this joint in his back so you can arch his back a little bit if you want and have him putting his tail up a little bit. So he's not bad. I mean, is he the best version of Ravage ever? No. To be quite honest, I think that the Masterpiece versions of the cassettes are probably the best they put out, though the Studio Series, some of them are pretty good. I don't know about Ravage, but cool Panther, but he has an additional mode. They're all triple changers. And I actually think this kind of makes sense because whereas Buzzsaw could fly as a bird, but had a land mode, which was, a little utilitarian. In the comics, at least, Ravage couldn't fly, so he would just run across the land. And now this gives him an additional mode. And so he becomes a jet or a drone. So it might be a small jet, but it looks like a jet. So this gives him aerial capabilities that, at least in the comic universe, he didn't seem to have. Now the instructions show pointing the toes forward. I would rather point them down like that. That works. And he can do some loop-loops. And I'm not sure if that bend is supposed to be used. The instructions aren't clear to stick up his tail a bit in this mode. I would think not, because it's not really aerodynamic. I think that is mainly just for his posability and Jaguar. He's a Jaguar. Panther. You get old, you kind of mix up things. So from Jaguar to spy little tablet to this jet. Not a bad conversion. I think these guys get a bad rap. Now, just quickly, I'm going to show Laserbeak. I'm not going to put him in the forklift mode because you've already seen that mode, but just want to show the deco on the mold mate, which is Laserbeak. He's very black with some red, so when you're looking at these guys in their spy tablet mode, you might actually confuse him for Ravage. He's so dark. And there is the Buzzsaw that comes with in the Bumblebee set, and that also has a lot more black. I am not sure why the original one was so brightly colored and they decided to turn him into a much less colorful version of himself. But these are more ominous and evil looking, and definitely the stickers are different. This one from the Bumblebee set, they match more closely a little bit with the ones that are on Laserbeak, though not exactly. In fact, the Decepticon symbols are definitely different styles, but not complaining. And of course there's Howlback. Yeah, he's kind of one of Soundwave's minions sometimes. I guess he has some loyalty issues. Not exactly sure. I mean, he's kind of like the Cobalt ones, but yeah, he's a Howlback boy. And again, I'm not going to put him into his jet mode just because you've seen the jet mode, but he's cool. So, I mean, if you get rid of or place aside one of the Buzzsaws, you have 6. Speaking of which, let's talk about Rumble and Frenzy. Or Rumble and Frenzy if you want to be toy accurate. I prefer cartoon accurate. So they are, again, spy tablets. Not too much you can do in this mode. They have some nice graphics on there. This has like charts and shit. This has like, well, looks like a cassette built into it, which is weird. But I guess it was in the cassette pack. So of course they can become robots. Now I have to say, weapon storage is here on the side, so you want to pop that out first. But then I have to say I'm not 100% thrilled with this joint. It seems to rub a bit. Now obviously they both change into their robot modes, and you actually have a choice of where to put the weapon. You can put it in their hand, or you can put it on their arm, kind of like a Megatron cannon, or a Seeker gun. So there they are, both very cool. And I am going to go through some posability. The others, the posability was minimal. These guys, they're full robots, so full Jean-Claude Van Damme. Not a problem. Kicking forward, kicking back, kicking to the side, swiveling. No ankle swivels, unfortunately. Arms go all the way around. Bends at the elbow, has a swivel. Very nice. Head turns all the way around. So a lot of good posability. There is no twisting at the waist though. So these guys are cool little robots. And I have to say, of all the spy tablet guys, these are probably the ones I like the most because of their alt modes. Now, each of them stands about 3.5 inches tall, but their final mode are tanks. Their final modes are tanks, which is reminiscent of these guys, which I'm not going to review in this, but just to kind of show you, these are the Japanese versions. I believe they came out during the Classics line. I've had them for years. They're a little dusty, but it is Rumble and Frenzy that change into double barrel tanks. So I think these guys changing into tanks is a great homage to those guys. Homages upon homages. And there they are in tank modes. I mean, they're decent. They actually have wheels, so you know what we're gonna do? A roll test. They kind of roll. I mean, it's not sliding, but pushing and letting go, they tend to skid out. But they're tanks. They're not supposed to be like super fast. So there you have it, Soundwave and all his minions, which I have to say, they are pretty fun. I know there are those who are like, well, they're not cassettes, so, you know. This guy actually is pretty popular because he looks like G1 Soundwave, but the others, it's like, tablet. I mean, I have Ravages that change into USB drives, so not that big of a deal. Oh, by the way, on the jet, you can pull this down and kind of has landing gear. So there doesn't appear to be anything on there to roll with. But still, I think the Titans Return Soundwave and his crew are a worthy addition to the Decepticon Empire. And I like having it. And I put links down in the description so you can get these guys. Some of these guys you can find on AliExpress. Most of them you're gonna have to go to eBay, but I put links so that you can go right to the listings, and it's a great way to support the channel. I appreciate it. And while you are debating about whether or not you wanna get this Soundwave and his minions, you can actually check out this video over here, which is the much more recent Legacy Soundwave and some of his minions. Fun video to check out. And we will see you next time. As always, have fun and good hunting.